Hello again. I am back for the final episode of the season. My name is Anthony Tsavelis, and this is Bowtie Certified, where we follow the journeys of others through certifications and how learning has given them the great benefits that got to give them where they're at right now. So I am a technical instructor in Google Cloud. So if you're looking for training for certification, please feel free to reach out. And so today I have a special guest, Renan Dias. And first of all, thank you for coming on the show, Renan.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Renan and I have known each other for about a couple years now. We worked together back in the day in corporate, and we've worked together side by side on some really cool projects. I remember one specifically that involved Kubernetes, where I was pulling my hair out because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, because Kubernetes is a beast. So what can I say? So without further ado, Renan, please tell us, what were you doing before diving into tech, and what made you decide that this was your path?
Okay. Yeah. So I consider myself lucky because I went to, I did a computer science university straight out of high school, right? So I know that, some people, they start a course and then maybe they don't like, and then they switch, etc. So yeah, so that's why I guess I consider myself lucky for doing computer science like straight away. And right in the first year, I kind of felt that thing was for me. Like I really enjoyed that, especially like programming and solving, like problem solving in general. But before university, I think I thought about doing IT. I think it was like 6 months before it started. Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
it wasn't a thing that I was actually planned. I had so many ideas before that. I wanted to be like like a soccer player and a musician, a bunch of things. And so yeah, so I remember it was a conversation with one of my colleagues of my father. He works in IT, and he was just talking to me about the industry. And I just I thought it was good to try, right? So that's why I got into computer science.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And so you went from a software developer to now into more of an infrastructure, a DevOps role, if you will. Automating all the things as we do as DevOps engineers. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that wasn't like overnight, right? So it was a process of years, I would say. So I started out working with iOS development. So my first job, it was as an iOS developer, and at that time I was mostly focused on just developing mobile applications, not even really like developing the backend. But then I made a transition to work with backend and front end specifically. So I was working with both at the same time.
Wow.
And for me, I remember that, one of the things that I struggled with when it comes to like a front end, it was dealing with like multiple browsers, multiple devices, multiple screen sizes.
No, thank you.
So I think that's why I kind of like started switching more to the infrastructure side of things. And it
Right.
was funny because I remember that years before I got to that point, dealing with like networking, system administration, that was something that I really wasn't passionate about, right? So I was more passionate about like coding. But then, after a few years of coding, and I had some frustration along the way in terms of like maintaining a huge code base where things weren't working well.
Right.
It was a little bit of a stressful time. So I think that's why I kind of transitioned to the infrastructure side of things. And I really found myself in that field, right? And that was the time where newer technologies like Kubernetes, Terraform, Docker, they were all coming out. And so I think it was a good time for me to start learning these new things. And once I, started learning all of that, I read a lot about what DevOps means, like the culture of DevOps. And so I just went for it.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And so you've been in infrastructure for how long?
For infrastructure, around 6 to 7 years now.
Got it. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 26.
26.
Yeah, so I started when I was
Ladies and
20.
gentlemen, 26 years old. This guy was teaching me stuff, let me tell you. And I was happy to learn from him. Renan, you have so much knowledge to give. And, you know, I'm curious that, you know, you've developed a passion for technology and software and coding, as well as the infrastructure. How was it that you got into your first job? Because I know that you're an early adopter, and you really took it on, like you said. You know, when you got into school, you knew that this was exactly what you were going to do. So, how did you transition from school to your first job in tech?
Right. Yeah, I guess for me the strategy was to learn things outside university, right? Because university can only teach you so much. It teaches the, you know, the fundamentals, but you know, the tech industry, it's, I don't know about like right now, but back in the day it was moving a little bit different, right? Like the curriculum university and the tech industry. So what I did was to try to find what was, you know, like a big thing at that time. So it was iOS development.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, during the first year of university, I was reading a lot of things about like programming in general. And during the course in university, I wasn't really understanding how I could translate that into like how is that an actual job, right, in IT? Like I know how to program a very simple program,
Right.
but how is a job, right? So yeah, so then I started researching, and I came across iOS development. So I just went for a course to do iOS development. So I studied for a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because at that time, so I'm originally from Brazil, and in Brazil, like iPhone, Macs, they're extremely expensive. It's really hard to afford one, right?
Right.
So the only opportunity I had was to on that course on that school. So they had all the Apple gear. So that's the only time I had to
Wow.
you know, to learn it. So it was a little bit tough in the beginning, but fortunately, I during university, after like the first year, I got a scholarship to go to the UK to study like for a year, and there was a little bit easier, right, to afford this kind of products.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know, I'm gonna push this even more, right? So I just like study every single day, and what made a difference for me is build something. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, so I'm learning everything here, all these, you know, all of this classes, all of this bunch of things, but I need to build something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to build something. So it came, yeah, an opportunity presented itself when I was in university to build an application for my university, because people were struggling to like to see their grades and see which you know, classrooms they had to go to certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I decided to build an app for my university, and that was my first experience building the app, right?
Nice.
And my goal was, so I told myself, okay, so I'm gonna give myself, let's say, 6 months to build this app and learn as much as I can about iOS, and then after that, I'm gonna start sending resumes, right? So that was my approach. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
it took me around 6 months. So I built the app, and then a few months after that, I started, you know, contacting different companies. And so there was this company in London that they were looking for iOS developer, and what, you know, what made me get that first job was that I showed my app, right? So I told them that I have knowledge in iOS, but you know, I proved that I have knowledge by showing something that it was actually working. It wasn't pretty because I'm not a designer, right?
It doesn't
But it
have
was
to be pretty,
functional.
though. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
pretty.
Yeah, for my first project, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I tell everyone that goes for a job, and you know, you're of the same mindset, Renan, that you know, when you are applying for a job, even if it's stuff that you've done in a lab scenario, it still counts as experience, and people
Oh yeah,
want
for
to see
sure.
that. People want
Hmm.
to see that. Um, so yeah, with regards to learning and teaching, and certifications. Like, I mean, I know you don't have a lot of certifications, but the ones that you do, you've really took the time to single out, okay, I really want this because it's going to benefit me greatly. You want to talk to us a little bit about those certifications that you do have?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I did the Kubernetes one, the application developer, and the professional cloud architect from Google Cloud.
Okay.
And so yeah, so the Kubernetes one, before that I was working with Kubernetes for about like 2 years, I think.
Mhm.
And at that time there was no certification, so I guess that's why it took me that much time to do it, right? But for that certification specifically, I had the knowledge already because I was working with Kubernetes every single day for 2 years straight. So I think for me it was just like, it was more like having fun and trying to do something different, right? Especially
Right.
because the Kubernetes certification is hands-on, so it's
Mhm.
not multiple choice. They actually give you a terminal, so you're gonna have to build all of the files and deploy things. So I thought it was, a good thing to try it out because it was different from the majority of the certifications, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that one was fun. And then for the GCP was a totally different scenario. So for GCP, I wanted to get into GCP, right? So I didn't know where to start. At that point, I think the professional architect was one of the only certifications that they had. So that gave me like, great guidance in terms of what I had to learn for it.
Mhm.
So I spent about, I think it was about a month learning as much as I could about different topics of that certification. And I did a bunch of courses and Coursera, Linux Academy, trying out myself as well. So I created an account on Google Cloud and started to launch a resource to learn how everything worked. And also I did some, so on the Google website, you've got an exam that you can try it out, right?
Yeah.
Did a bunch of times as well. So yeah, so I was learning for about a month, and then I did the exam and I passed, and that gave me it kind of motivated me to like keep going, right? Keep learning more and more and more, and also this is something that it really helps in terms of visibility, either if it's just like your personal profile or even with your employer as well, right?
Yeah, and I want to get more into the learning aspect of the stuff that you're doing for the community in just a second. But I do have a question from the audience.
Yeah.
Jacob Luna asks, "Do you see knowledge gaps or friction between people who go into DevOps that come from a coding background versus someone who comes from an infrastructure background?"
Right, I see. Yeah, so for me is the first example, right? So I come from a coding background to infrastructure. I think honestly, like for me, really helped to know coding going to infrastructure, especially because nowadays things are getting even more dynamic. So
Codified.
yeah. So for example, back like a few years ago, we used to use a Python library to build CloudFormation templates dynamically, right? Because CloudFormation is in YAML, so it's very static. Nowadays, there is a CDK from Amazon, and also if you're using, for example, Terraform, and you want to develop a provider for Terraform, you need to know Golang, right? So I think it makes a huge difference if you have a coding background. But what I notice is that if it's someone that only comes from the system administration or just the infrastructure background, when it comes to this little tasks like scripting or even like developing a Lambda to automate things, it gets a little bit tougher, right? So yeah, so I
Hi.
would say right. So yeah, so I would say, if you come from an infrastructure background, system administration background, I would highly recommend that you learn a programming language, right? It doesn't need to be, like for example, Go or Python. It depends. It depends on your goal. Sometimes in your company you're using one language or the other, but just learn how to create like programs, even if it's simple programs right now, so you can kind of like understand the programming logic, right? When you have to build this kind of automation. So I think it makes a huge difference. And for those who already have coding background, it seems to be, at least in my experience, an easier how to say, a transition, right? Especially because me coming from computer science, I learned a lot about networking and operating system when I was doing my course. So it wasn't a huge thing for me as a starting administering servers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like I said, for infrastructure background, it's very important that also you know how to code.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some difficulties, and Renan saw me through that. It was tough. I mean, especially when you are when you're dealing with coding for the very first time, it can be overwhelming. But I think what helped me through it was learning Terraform. Even though it's not like its own language, but it really helped out to understand the whole logic thing that you're talking about, Renan. And and that's why I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, and even now that HashiCorp is coming up with the HashiCorp configuration language version 2, they're adding more features, like for example, something that they call for each, so you can like loop and create multiple resources. And if you know how to code, you know that translates straight away to like a loop, right?
Yeah.
So your mindset is a little bit different when you see the code. Right? I even saw one of the comments saying that the best DevOps guy is an ex.NET developer. Right?
Yeah. So Jacob, I hope that answers your question. So getting back into it, I wanted to share with the audience what I think is such a great achievement of yours is the dojo. And I really wanted to take a moment to focus on that, as it's really become this this thing. Like, people know you for it, and it's because it's so great. It teaches so much. So I'm curious as to if you could tell us what is the dojo, why you started it, and where do you see it going?
Okay. Yeah. So for me, when I'm learning something, I can read as much as possible, but I'm really gonna learn it when I actually try it. Yeah. So for me, it's really important the hands-on. So yeah. So when I started in this company that I am right now, so I wanted to like create an event, right? Like event related to DevOps. And I knew that at the time we had a lot of events going on that were mostly focused on talks. So I wanted to do something different, right? And I just, look at how I learn things. So I thought to myself, I learn when I do things, right? Like the hands-on is really important. And that's when I had the idea of creating this event that we call the dojo, right? And yeah, so what the dojo is about is solving a problem, right? So we basically like we create teams, and the teams build a solution to a problem using different technologies. Yeah, so sometimes the dojo is about a single technology. Sometimes it's about different technologies all together, right? So for example, the first one was around Kubernetes, so deploying microservices to Kubernetes. And then after that, we used Terraform to deploy infrastructure resources to AWS and Google Cloud at the same time. So yeah, so for each one of the dojos, we have one or more topics. And then I write a challenge. So the challenge is usually like broken down into multiple tasks. And then for each task that you do, at the end, you're going to have a full solution. And the goal is for the solution to be something that you can actually apply like in your job, or even if you can't apply in your job, at least you get the experience, right? To either get a job around that topic, or just come to your employer, say, hey, I've got this experience on this technology, maybe let's try it out, which actually happened to one of the participants. Really? Yeah, so he said that after the dojo, he went to his employer, talked about that technology, and the employer got very interested in, and gave him an opportunity to actually try it out, do like a small POC, which was nice to hear.
It's amazing. And do you know what came of it afterwards, or it's still?
So I haven't heard from him ages. Yeah, it was like 2 years ago when we talked the last time.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I might reach out actually to find out what happened.
That's good. So what with regards to putting on the dojo, the obvious goal behind it is learning. and you being the teacher, what gave you that passion for teaching?
For teaching, I think that comes from my mother because she's a teacher. So I think it's in my blood.
I actually had no idea that your mom was a teacher.
Yeah, she's a teacher.
Oh,
I
okay.
think honestly that's how I love teaching, right? So and I got into teaching very early, I would say, even before I started my university. So I used to do martial arts, and at some point I started teaching like kids and adults martial arts. Yes, and I saw that I was really passionate about teaching, right?
Yes.
But it's something that it's hard to explain. I think it's just like in you,
Yeah,
you know.
I get it.
And yeah, and also like I love to see people learning new things. So and I think that's also motivate me to teach others, right?
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I know the feeling because it's part of me. I
Hmm.
don't know. It just once you get that bug, if you will, it just doesn't go away, and you want to see others succeed. You just do.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like there are certain even like certain topics that I struggle myself when I was learning because I didn't have anyone to teach me, and
Mm.
that's also what motivates me to help others, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to get someone to be alongside you to teach you things, and of course like now with the internet it's so much easier to do it, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I know that yeah, you have the dojo, but you're also doing your own thing by getting articles published, whether it be on the internet or with publications, as well as having your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the YouTube channel idea came out of the dojo. So basically, a lot of people would come to me and ask if we recorded the event or if we could show them how to build a solution for that event. And so I at that time I didn't have anything. I didn't record events or I didn't write about it. And so that's why I thought about creating the YouTube channel because then I can after the events I can record myself showing how to build a solution, and then I can publish everything so then people can later on, right, watch the videos.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there do you have a direct link for that?
Yep, I do.
You
I'll,
do?
yeah, I can send you here.
Okay, perfect. I'll get it in the stream in a second.
Yeah.
Um, so Renan, what other learnings assisted you to be better at your job outside of just the regular tech?
Right. Yeah. So for me, it was really important to work on the soft skills as well, right?
Mm.
Especially like the communication and work in a team environment, right? Like for me, it made a huge difference as well, because with tech, it's very easy for us to be just focused on the technical side.
Yes.
But even when you're just on the technical side, not if you want to transition to like a management position for sure, soft skills, right? But even if you're just on the technical side, it still makes a difference. Yeah. It makes a difference because you can work better in teams, because most of the time you're gonna be working within a team, right? And it's also like for me, one of the things that I was really afraid in the past of presenting things to others, and that's why I was like, you know what, I need to learn how to present stuff. I need to expose myself more. Yeah. And so that's why I started like going to events to try to talk about something. And 2 years ago I created the dojo, so then I exposed myself nearly every month with the community and talking about stuff, right?
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I think overall for me, what really helped not only the learning the technical things, but also working on the soft skills, on the communication, right? Be a team player, the sort of things.
So was it more you just dove in and did it, or did you have any formal training for soft skills?
I didn't have any formal training. It was more like looking at myself and seeing things that I could improve, right? Based on my experience. and just try to, expose myself, right? So like, for example, like I said, I was afraid of presenting stuff. So I try to look for opportunities to present more. Or even if I had certain conversations with a colleague that didn't go well, so then I would just look back and say, okay, so what should I've done, right, to improve the communication with my colleagues? So the next time something like that happened, I try to act differently. So it was so it was basically based on my experiences, and just looking back at what I did and trying to do differently.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of reflection, and then on top of that, being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh yes, that's very important.
Yes, it is, and it's a tough one to grasp. A lot of people are like, "What? Comfortable with being uncomfortable?" Yeah, it's a tough one to really just sit in that discomfort, but so much growth comes from it.
Exactly. And you shouldn't be afraid of, just because you don't have that, you shouldn't be afraid, right? Because we don't know everything. Yeah. No. Exactly.
So what does the future look like for Renan? I mean, you have these great skill sets with regards to DevOps and being able to program, and then on top of that, you have the dojo, and you got your YouTube channel. What does Renan 2.0 look like?
Yeah, so this, getting online, that's something that I started very recently, like with the YouTube channel, also like a Twitch channel, doing live streams and sort of things. That's something that I want to do more and more over time, right? Because I think this is, the internet is a great platform for us to teach others and reach out to as many people as possible. So that's something that I'm going to invest a lot of my time in. So the teaching aspect. And also I think like at work, like right now, like, or for the past, couple of years, I've been a lot focused on the engineering side of things, and just focus on building solutions. But for me, I really like to interact with people and help others. So I really aspire to get to that point where I can, help others grow their career, build their career as well, and yeah, like, build relationships as well with partners, with clients, the sort of things. Yeah, so
working more on your soft skills.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I've been working really hard on that as well.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, if there is one piece of advice that you could give to others who are either trying to get into the industry or land a better role in technology, where they're at, what would it be?
Right. So there is a technical aspect, right? So for you to specialize in certain technologies, but I think most importantly is there are a couple of things. So first, you need to be curious, right? So be always willing to learn new things, and also keep learning, right? It's never too late to learn new things. there was a tweet from Kelsey Hightower that the other day I saw, that he said that so he started learning Kubernetes when he was 32 years old. Yes. And so that it's never late for you to start learning anything, because you're going to have to learn for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think another good, important aspect is to always keep learning, have this mindset of always keep learning, and also be humble, right? So be willing to learn with others and teaching others as well. It's okay for you to have like your opinions, be very opinionated, but it's also important to be a good listener and listen to others, respect others' opinions on certain subjects, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be my advice. Like, be curious, keep learn new things. If you can learn like 30 minutes a day, that's gonna make a huge difference, right? Like throughout your entire career.
Compounded interest.
Exactly. Yeah. So be humble, learn with others, teach others, and respect others as well.
Yeah. I mean, so when I came from the fashion industry, I was very uncomfortable with, putting myself out there. And I think working with you, Renan, made me really humble, because when I was working with you, I was 44 years old, learning from a 20-year-old, and I didn't have a problem with it, because I was learning. I was like, this is cool. I'm learning from a younger person. who's half my age, but the knowledge that you brought to the table was like, it was phenomenal. So it was one thing that I really learned from that experience was, don't be afraid to learn from somebody who's either younger than you, or who hasn't been in the industry long enough, but is still, they say that if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you heard that before, but yeah, it is a humbling experience. But when you sit in that humbleness, it gives you a chance to really spread your wings.
Oh yeah, it takes you really far, and especially because IT is a field that is, it's moving so fast, right? Like every single day, week, month, something new is coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why, you're gonna have this mix of, learning with, older people, or older people learning with younger people, right?
Totally.
And yeah, that's why I guess, like I said, that the humbleness, that makes a total difference, because it makes you move, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of people out there who are, systems administrators or Unix admins, people still programming in COBOL, and the older generation is going to have to learn from the newer generation and learn all the newer technologies. But I mean, the best way to learn is through the younger generation, because they know all the quirks, they know all the ins and outs. And what better way to learn something than from somebody who's actually gone through it?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it also depends on the technology, right? So if you're talking about the newer technology like containers, the sort of things, right? So probably like if you talk to a younger person, they're gonna be aware of all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about like system administration, or even, programming, like programming languages like C, which is, like 30, 40 years old, you're probably gonna learn tons with people that, have been working in this industry for many years, right?
Totally. We have a question from the audience. Treyon is asking, how do you think the IT industry, I guess, will be shaped after COVID-19?
Yeah, so I guess, we see more and more that business, they, for them to survive nowadays, it's really important if they're online, right? So many business that they only have like a physical store. I think they really realized that if they were online, if they had like an online store, or some, presence on social media, the sort of things, it would have made a difference. So I think that's how, the industry will be shaped, going forward. So business more and more, I think they're going to invest in IT, right? To modernize, and with that, I think there's going to, it will come more opportunities as well for people, right, in terms of jobs.
Yeah, I mean, everything is going online, and how long has it been since you've been in the office?
Oh, I went in March, so it's wow.
March?
March, that
Wow,
was last time.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess everything is just going online, and there's no real way to stop it.
Yeah, and I think another thing is also that's for the businesses, right? Like, with local shops, this sort of things. But for companies as well, that, they have like an IT department, this sort of things. I think they realize that it really works for people to work remote. So I've heard a lot of companies that they even shut down their offices entirely, so people are allowed to work from home going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, an important difference as well, right? Like comparing before COVID and after COVID. And I see that with even with my company, right? So we've all been working from home more and more, and I see discussions about that this is gonna continue, like moving forward. Yeah, so last time in the office, it was in March. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna see more and more organizations accepting that working from home really works for them, and either they're going to shut down their offices, or they're going to say, you come to the office, that's totally optional. And overall, that might work better for some people. Or like some people are maybe they're willing to like move around more easily and be able to like work remotely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a huge impact in the industry as well.
Yeah. And how do you see it from an employee standpoint, especially when it comes to soft skills?
Soft skills, yeah. I think that's going to be different, because like one thing is for you to interact with someone like, when you're in person.
Yes.
But the other thing is just via video. Everyone's talking about the Zoom fatigue, that they can't really just be on Zoom calls the whole day, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's still going to continue the same thing, right? Like the communication with your team. Maybe now it's going to intensify, because
Mhm.
before it's one thing to just walk to someone's desk and talk to them.
Yes.
But now you're going to have to reach out either via video or via call or send a message. And it changes a little bit, right? The way you communicate with people.
Yeah. I mean, what's happening with you currently? I mean, in your situation, how do you usually have like team meetings, or you need to reach out to somebody? Is it usually is it easy? Is it easier? Is it more difficult? What's the scope?
Right. Yeah. So for me, it's well, we use Slack, so it's mostly we reach out via Slack. If there needs to be a team meeting and we feel like there needs to be a discussion around a topic, so we just schedule a video call for us. Otherwise, if it's something that we don't necessarily see ourselves spending a whole hour talking about it, we just go like create a Slack channel and talk about it in that channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of that, I don't think a lot has changed, honestly, because like before, especially in my company that we work a lot with, people in the US, for example, so we can just go and walk to their desk, right? So we're always like communicating by video, Slack channel, etc. But for those who especially smaller companies, that they're always like they see each other every single day, I
Yes.
think it has a bigger impact, right? But for me, honestly, like I said, because we work a lot with people from other countries, it's quite the same, I would say. It hasn't changed massively.
Yeah, I remember that when I was in the office with you, we'd have people on our team messaging each other, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm right here. Get up and talk to me."
That's true, yeah.
Because we don't have that convenience anymore, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to change as well, right? Like
Yeah.
even when people go back to the office, they're going to be more comfortable just making a video call, even though they're like 2 meters away.
So true, so true.
But,
Yes, Treyon says that he misses having coffees and lunches with his work buddies.
yeah. So I try to connect with my colleagues as well. Like for example, during lunch, we just call each other
Yeah.
and talk for a little bit. Before the pandemic, it was so easy to just go like and grab a drink, grab a coffee. But yeah, nowadays it's very hard. Yeah, I miss that as well.
Yeah. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Of course, yeah. So LinkedIn is the easiest, right? So like feel free to connect with me, and if you have any question about anything IT, etc., job, just feel free to send me a message. And so you can find me on YouTube, right? So I'm always going to be posting videos about like creating solutions to different kind of problem using modern technology. So if that's something that you're looking for about learning as well, and also I'm part of a meetup group, which is where I announce the dojos. I can send you the link later so we can post that. Yeah, but then people will be able to find me that group as well. But LinkedIn will be the easiest.
Nice. And I guess all the info for the links to your YouTube channel and to your meetups, they're all on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to as well open up the floor to anyone in the audience. If you have any questions for Renan, we can definitely get them answered. So, Renan, what certifications are you looking at next?
So next, I'm really interested in the HashiCorp ones. So they come out like very, very recently, right? So they have the Terraform one, they have the console, and also Vault. So yeah, so I'm focusing a lot on HashiCorp technologies nowadays, and that's probably the next ones that I'm gonna tackle. I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice, very nice.
Mhm.
Actually, my friend Derek Morgan, big shout out to him. He actually just started his own course
Oh yeah.
to get Terraform certified.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I'll actually put it in
Mhm.
the bottom here. There we go. There you go. So for those people who are looking to get certified in Terraform, Derek's course does a little bit more than that. It's a lot of hands-on, just like you love, Renan.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely gotta check this one out.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's at a really good price at $10. You can't go wrong. You know, I'm already learning so much from it, and I've only done like a few lessons, but this is what I'm planning to do over the Christmas holidays. I want to get Terraform certified myself.
And Terraform is it's a technology that has been growing so much over the years, right? Especially when they reach Terraform 1.0, hopefully soon. Because it's been like 0 point something
I
forever
know,
now.
forever. I don't understand.
Yeah, they're saying probably next year they're gonna get to 1.0, but yeah, I think the adopting like companies adopting Terraform has already been massive over the years,
Yeah.
but moving forward, I think it's gonna be even bigger, right? So yeah, it's definitely a very important technology to know if you want to get into DevOps, etc.
Yeah, totally. I found that it brought so much value, especially since, you know, when you're in DevOps and you're looking to create new environments, this is the best way to do it. I mean, you just codify it, and you know, you get the same repeatable infrastructure every time, and you don't get the issue of, well, it worked on my computer.
Exactly. That was actually one of my first experiences in DevOps when I was like the first one was Jenkins, so I was learning about creating CI/CD pipelines. But then after that, it was infrastructure as code, right? So my company, they were all on AWS, and at that time everything was done manually.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was learning about infrastructure automation, and I asked them about like can I try to automate this whole thing, right? Instead of like you doing everything manually on the console,
Yeah.
can I just try to automate? So yeah, so that was my first experience automating the infrastructure. I relaunched the whole thing pretty much using automation. So that was a good experience, and also another good technology that I really loved to work with. It was Ansible, right? So
Yes.
yeah, especially for configuration management. And also at that time they were also deploying things manually, like removing instance from load balancer, SSH to it, changing the code.
Oh my goodness.
It was a
No,
nightmare.
thank you. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah. Treyon is saying that Derek's course is amazing. And yeah, also the tech study Slack Terraform channel. I don't know if you're familiar with tech study Slack, Renan, but it is a Slack channel that my friend Adrian Cantrell had put out. He is the author of a lot of the AWS courses that are out there, and he wanted a place where, you know, people can share each other's successes as well as their frustrations, you know, any problems that they may have, and it's just a great Slack channel. Highly recommend for those of you who haven't checked it out. Check it out.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'll definitely enjoy this one. I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
there's currently over 14,000 people there now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
And
no kidding around.
when did he create the channel?
About a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a growth.
Yeah,
A
it is.
year got 14,000, 1,400.
So,
Yeah.
so we got a lot of AWS. We got a lot of Google. We got some Terraform now. There's Kubernetes. There's like a whole slew of different technologies, and a lot of really good people.
Yeah.
I've had nothing but positive experiences being in that channel. So
Yeah, and I think that it also makes a huge difference because sometimes people ask like, how can I learn something new? And you can recommend courses, of course, and articles and sort of things. But another thing that is very important is for you to be in contact with the community, right? Because there's so many other people either going through the same experience as you, so they have a lot to share, or people that already work with the technology, so they can, if they're willing to teach you as well, you can learn a lot with others. So
yes.
yeah, so like joining a Slack channel like that, or a Slack workspace, right? It makes a huge difference as well to be in contact with others.
Totally. So as there are no other questions coming up, I think I'm going to end the live stream. Renan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and telling your story, and giving the passion that you hold for learning and teaching. And I hope that it rubs off on a lot of others.
For sure. Yeah. Again, thanks very much for inviting me. It was great.
Yeah, no problem. And so I want to give a quick shout out to the audience. I see a lot of people here that have come back every single week. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And for those who just tuned in, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And so this is going to be the last episode for the season. I'm going to be taking a little break for Christmas, obviously, as everyone does. And so I hope everyone enjoys their holiday season, and I wish you well, especially during COVID. Please keep safe. I wish you much wealth for the new year, and a very happy holidays. So thank you again, Renan. Thank you again, everyone in the audience. And we will see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel, in the coming weeks. And until then, keep striving and keep learning.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. And thanks a lot, everyone.